It needs no batteries. It needs no cables. In fact, all you have to do is wind it up, just like a clock. Measure your light. Set your f-stop. Recheck your focus. Push the button and mise en scene. It's the Bolex, your magic carpet to creative fulfillment. Alright, here we go. Loading the Bolex. As you can see, it's door facing us. Pop this, look inside. You'll notice that it does have a take-up reel in it, which is very important, something you should always check out when you get your camera from the office. I like to pop it out. There's a little thing here which pops out reels. So the first thing we do is take our roll of film, which we're going to put in the top position. As you can see, there's an arrow that says film goes in that way, comes out that way. We'll take our film, emulsion side, base side, and we're going to trim it on this little guillotine trimmer down here on the bottom. It trims off a nice, neat little piece. I'll show you that again. What you do is you stick the film in like this, like that, and you get your thumb on it, and you make sure that you get the little piece out, because if it ends up in the works, it could be a heartbreak. Okay, the next thing we do is take the automatic threading mechanism and engage it like that. Like that. Film comes in, the film comes out. So we'll put our reel in, or as I find it easier to do, to actually put the reel on the side of the camera and feed the film in here. And there you have it, threaded up. What I like to do, once I've actually threaded the camera, is disengage the loop former, let it run for a second, just so I know that these two loops are holding perfectly. One thing you've got to watch when you're threading up your take-up reel inside the camera is that you notice there's a little slot in there. And in order to put your film in that little slot, it's always best to just give it a little bend like that. And then when you insert it into that little slot, it'll grab a lot better than if you just stick it in there. You wind it up a little bit and holds tight. Because if you don't, and it comes loose when you're shooting, about 50 foot into your roll, you'll be in for a really nasty surprise. And you open your camera and there'll be all this film come flying out. One thing you have to watch out for is the gate being open by some maybe other student who happened to use the camera before you. And it only happens to be open a little bit, just a little bit. See, like that. Your camera will actually still thread, even if it's open a little bit, which is unfortunate because the results are disastrous. See, she threads up fine, but the gate isn't closed. The film is actually still being driven by the registration pins through the gate, but this little jewel here, which is kind of built like a sled, as you can see, it actually pushes on the film to make sure that it's registered in the gate. If it's not, it'll look really terrible. Okay, first of all, what makes it run? There's a big spring inside here that you have to wind up just like a clock. Okay, what makes it go? There's a button on the front. You push, the camera runs. The second way is by using this lever here, doing the same thing. Push it and it runs. Push it further and it locks. Okay. There's another way to run the camera as well, and that's by single frame. Single frames advancing. As you see our footage counter advancing by frames. And it looks like this when you're running at full speed. There's another footage counter on the very back of the camera right here, and it runs the same way. It counts by feet. 5, 10, ends up at 100. You want to go just a little past 100 and you know you've used all your roll. You'll be able to hear it once you use the Bolex for a certain amount of time. You'll actually be able to hear that film come through and click. Well, this will give you frames per second. This is how many frames per second are running through the camera. Right now it's set to 18, which is a silent speed, but it's a speed which will allow you to reproduce movement in a realistic fashion at the most economical frame rate. As we run the camera, you can actually hear it speed up. 24, 32, 48, and so on. Okay, we should never run it faster than 32 frames a second unless there's film in the camera, because if there's not film in the camera, it will actually damage the mechanism. This will change your single frame rate, and instead in the I position, it'll be a 30th of a second. When it's set in the T position, as long as you hold that open, it'll be exposing the film. Back in this position, it does a 30th of a second. In this position, in the T position, T as in time, it will do a time exposure. This one is to set your frame counter. So if you turn this, you can set the frame counter to back to 0. This one is for attaching either an electric motor or a rewind crank to actually backwind the camera. We'll go over that later. This is a variable shutter. It opens and closes the rotating shutter partially to prevent a half stop or a full stop of light from reaching the film. It also closes all the way to allow one to fade in or fade out of a scene. When it's in operation, a little warning pyramid appears in the viewfinder to let you know that this is happening. Remember, it allows you to do a half stop or a full stop or close the shutter completely so no light reaches the film. Before you shoot, adjust the viewing system, the Bolex, for your own vision. Set the lens on infinity and adjust the diopter until it is at its sharpest. Then tighten the locking ring so it won't change during the shoot. Just like this. Tighten that ring down so it won't move. This lever opens and closes the viewing system. If you leave the eyepiece for any reason, light can come in the back door, so to speak, and expose your film. This little lever prevents that. This lever disengages the spring-wound motor of the camera in case you're going to put an electrical motor on it or rewind the film manually. This is the witness mark. This is where the film plane is precisely in the camera. If you're doing very, very precise measurements, say with a measuring tape, this is where you'd measure from. Bolexes sometimes have 3 lens turrets. They lock in place over where the shooting aperture is in the camera. They lock in place very firmly. As you can see, you can rotate it to 3 different positions. This is your gate right there. Lock that lens over it firmly until it stops in. In order to take a lens off, you unscrew it. These are C-mount screw lenses. Always use 2 hands. If you only use one hand, that could come out of your hand and come to grief on the floor. It's got very fine threads on the back. Try to always match them up and not misthread them. Once again, use 2 hands always to screw a lens on. They're little, but they're extremely expensive and fragile. The filter holder fits between the lens and the film plane. You can put any kind of gelatin filter in there you want for any desired effect. It slips in and slips out, but you have to be very sure when you check out your camera that there is indeed a filter holder in there, because light will leak in through this gap and cause havoc with your exposure. So it's one of the things that can screw you up. What else can screw you up? When you get your camera, the switch could be in the down position instead of in the up position, and it won't run. What else can screw you up? Well, let's see. Let's take a look here. Like we mentioned before, you might not have a filter holder in your filter slot, and that'll ruin your exposures. You want to make sure it's in there and it's in there tight. The diopter, you always want to set for your own eye or things won't be in focus. Make sure that lockdown nut is in there tight. That's right. What else can screw you up? Well, let's see. How about the viewing system cutoff switch could be in the up position, which will allow you not to see anything at all. So put it in the down position, you'll be able to look through the lens. Remember, if it's in the up position, all you see is black. Not a good thing. Keep it in that down position. What else? Don't forget to check the gate and make sure it's closed. If it's open like this, then you're in for some trouble when you get your film back. Make sure that you've got that thing pushed closed and locked. Okay, that's your brief introduction to the Bolex. Now it's time to go out and shoot some film.